Okay, so like I did last week, I just want to walk you through the rest of the syllabus for the rest of the week, or weeks, right? We are at week 14. No reading. Instead, we're viewing, right? We're viewing this week. The TED Talk, the discussion 5 is posted. You are expected to report out on 2, but I highly recommend you watch as many as you can, right? The ones that I've listed are the ones that are available for you to report on. Don't confer with each other, please. Just pick your own. Don't everybody do the same one. If everybody does the same one, it'll be really hard for me to grade. Okay. Next week is actually going to be more like a drop-in office hours in case you need help with putting together your project. We're welcome, everyone's welcome to come in, but it's not going to be any kind of particular structure. It's just merely making sure that you're on task, giving you a week of an additional week of working on this. Okay, sound good?
Yes, thank you very much, because I was having a little stress about that. Not I finally came up with my subject, but just finding like exactly how I was going to lay out doing it. Are we going to talk about that today?
Talk about what when?
Can we talk about if we've come up with something? Or do you want us to just do that separately on email?
No, we're going to talk today.
Okay, cool.
So, sorry, I'm having to verify my identity. Y'all do that? I mean, does that happen to y'all every time you try to do something?
On what?
Get a code, everything. You have to get a code, text it to you.
Oh yes, yeah. The two-part authentication.
Yeah.
Always choose that if you can. By the way.
Do what?
I said always opt to do, multi-authentication. You have a lot of times in some apps you have the option not to do it, but you should do it. That's it. Signed VMware.
Cool. That's right. Thank you, Chris, for that nice commercial break. All right. Next week, like I said, not in class officially. I'll be here. I'll be on. Doesn't matter. Come in if you need to. The week after is your presentation, as well as your critical reflection assignment. The project presentation reflection will be submitted after your presentation. So critical reflection, that's going to open next week and be due the week of the 25th to the 30th, right? Give you a little bit of space between those two. Not critical reflection and project reflection at the same time, but rather course reflection and then the project reflection. Sound good? Officially, we don't meet the May 2nd through the 6th. That's just the way Agnes Scott set it up. But your exam period time that they've set up is May 6th through the 11th. And so I'm giving you through the May 11th day to submit your exam. Does that work for everybody? Any questions, Chris?
No, thank you. I just click off to respond to you. Thank you.
The exam is going to be structured the same way as every other exam. Okay. Any questions?
Not at the moment. None for me.
All right. Then let's talk about your assignment. Discussion 4, ANOVA Lit Review. How did that go?
Willamette Valley. It's great.
I'm talking about the Lit Review, Tara.
Oh, whoops. Sorry.
Lit review, I said. Lit review.
So excited about Willamette Valley.
I thought it was, oh, go ahead.
Oh, you
No, I was going to say, I thought it seemed harder than usual to find a paper that was about a study and that wasn't just about ANOVA and the processes behind it. Just looking through Agnes Scott and Google, there didn't seem to be as many choices, but obviously I found something. I also think it's interesting. You
What
can
you
never
found?
find anything with it in a US based study. Everything is international. Not that I care, I just find that odd. Like I noticed everybody had the same. Sorry, nobody had anything US based. It was all from another country.
So what specifically did you find?
Mine was about the exciting topic of teledentistry and how it is viewed by various dentists across the world.
What did you learn?
That teledentistry has its roots in the United States, which the authors did not seem to find as amusing as I did when they made that statement. But I found that, sorry, I found that they compared a lot of things like how the dentist, if they thought teledentistry would be useful to their practice, if it would be useful to their patients, if it would be secure, and everything was significant except when it came to when they only looked at gender in those different categories, and then it was not. It was kind of a dud study, actually, but.
Kind of,
What else?
when you said dud study, it made me think of, I felt like the article written by the study I did, which I'll backtrack to what it was. They leaned so much, the write-up was so much about, like, they brought in all these other tangential like things. I'm like, that has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Yes, I found that too. Like the ANOVA part was just 2 or 3 paragraphs, and then there was just a lot of other unrelated material. Or
Yeah.
it probably was related, and I'm just not smart enough to make that connection. But
Oh my gosh, Jody.
just say it.
No, but mine was on, and it was titled Post Hoc Analysis for, was it Post Hoc Analysis of Life Expectancy in West Africa? And they looked at the country's economy and gender and the associated interaction. And apparently the interaction they didn't like, it was a two-way ANOVA, and they didn't like the interaction, so they ran it without it. And that's the results that they went with, which indicated, some real, that there's a very, very significant difference, to the point where I was looking at the charts and I was like, what is less than 2.2 E minus 16? I was like, what the, I don't know how to, the p-value with that. And then I didn't remember till I looked it up that it's like a whole bunch of zeros in front of the two. So 16 zeros. And so I was like, okay, that's good. So that's very, 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 very significant. But the country's economy is very significantly, statistically significant to life expectancy, and so is gender. But there were huge variance between groups, and you can see that on the plot, which I liked. They called it the interaction plot, but the what did we call it? Shoot, it was on the tip of my, because I think I named it, I think I might have called it something different. Means plot. The means plot it's just like jagged up and down from all the different countries. So although it's consistent that women have a higher expectancy in all of those different countries, but this one was about gender. Well, it's gender on top of, it's just the interaction. Okay, so it is the interaction, it's gender and the economy. So everything together is shown in this table, according, if they call it interaction. But that's what my point. Why would they put that table there and then take interaction out of the study? There's weird stuff, and it wasn't very long. It was one of the shorter ones. And then I think it was sloppy, like, because literally I've read the thing 4 times, could not find in, which led to a question that I wanted to ask, that if you have the tables with the degrees of freedom on them, is there a way to calculate backward, like what N would have been? Because there's 16 countries and we're talking about gender, male, female. So the observations, like, can I figure that out? I figure there's got to be a way, but I don't have time to do that and get it in on time. So, I mean, research, how do you figure out what N is? But I mean, I've read the damn thing 4 times and I literally was losing it because I couldn't find it. So I had to just say there wasn't there, but they used ANOVA and the Tukey HSD. And then also they mentioned, which I wanted to bring up because I did do enough research to find that they put the variables, country, gender, then they say error and total. So I wrote on my notes that the error, if you look at the table, was the within groups and the others were the between groups. That's kind of what I think I gleaned from it, but I didn't do any of those calculations like we did, when I didn't write it out like the results, like what we found them. But anyway, that was it. And of course, Jody, in response to what I posted, there were 16 countries and they compared every country to every other of the 15 countries. So that was 100. It looked like there's 100. I counted and there was 120. So I was like, was that the number of observations? I mean, my brain was off. So I did what I could with that. But anyways, that's enough of my response for now. And I don't know if that thing gave me a virus because it said not safe, but I'd already downloaded it and my mouse stopped working the next day. Yeah, true story. Yeah.
To get the actual N, right, the number of cases, you have the number of groups minus 1 here. So add 1 to the number of whatever this first
the degree of freedom.
Is, add one to it.
Right.
And then add that to the second number. Right? Because you're subtracting the number of groups. That's all you gotta do.
Okay, so I had 16 countries. So 15 degrees of freedom. So 16 plus gender had 1 degree of freedom. So that was the 2 groups. So 18. You're saying N is 18?
No. You take whatever the second degree of freedom is. Right here. You see this one? 27, right?
Hold on. Let me make it a little bit bigger because I was looking at, I have the discussion open too. Hold on. Okay, what now? Okay, so 27.
Yep. So we have 3 groups minus 1 equals 2, right? And then the second number is 27, right? Which is number of observations minus 3, right? Number of groups, which means that we have 30 cases in this analysis that we used here.
30 cases.
That's what you asked, right? The total number of cases.
Yeah, well, like, not cases, because I can see that, but how many people, like, so for life expectancy, that's what I'm saying. I went off and I just shut it off. I didn't even start trying to think about it because then I thought, I mean, they surveyed a whole bunch of people, or, what is calculating I'm thinking their life expectancy. That's what I was looking for, was what was N equals what? Did they talk to 100 people in each country, which would be?
Okay, so what was the unit of analysis? Was it the country or was it the people? Did you have a data set with people, person 1, person 2, person 3, or country 1, country 2, country 3?
Countries 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you can't figure it out.
Okay, well, because I've tried to logically think about it, and I was playing with degrees of freedom, and then I was like, I don't even feel like researching it. And I thought, how would I know? But then I definitely gave up when I saw that they said that they reused a study. So they took something already done and used it again. I forgot there's a name for that when the data is already collected, data collection, brain freeze. When you're using a study already done. Jody, don't you remember that? Help me. We were in data, weren't we in data collection together?
Yes, but that was a long time ago.
It was, but I know that you can do that though. So it's, but because this person, one author did it, and that's the other thing I noticed, it was just one author. A lot of the ones I've looked at have multiple authors, which I find gives a better quality of work because there's accountability. This person was writing stuff and clearly didn't run it by anybody because it was just, what? Okay, we got the basics, but then there's some other stuff. But it was for recommendations, and they had a nice long list of recommendations. But if you ask me, they worked backwards. They had all these ideas, and they used the data to support the ideas that they already had. So anyway, that was it. It was enriching, even though it was enriching to know that there's stuff out there that you should really read clearly.
All right, let's talk about wine and stats. Not Kara, but everybody else. Tell me what you thought about wine and stats.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. I liked it.
I liked it. These people pay way more for wine than I would, but
I paid
I don't-
$2 Chuck, y'all. $2 Chuck from Trader Joe's.
Yep. I don't go above 10. The Snoop Dogg is really good. I know that doesn't sound like it would be, but it is. Kara's
wondered
probably
about that.
it really is. I'm sorry, Eric's aggravated with this. It's really good. Kara's probably a $36 bottle of wine person since she lives in wine country.
Probably isn't that expensive there as much. I mean,
Well, hey, there's a shortage on cork globally. So if you want a good, nice cork wine, it costs you. No, so seriously, what'd y'all learn? You got your wine. You got your region.
I need to open that up.
What region? Yeah. Was there a difference in wine price and wine ratings by region in Oregon?
Yes. And it was the same for both. Like
Willamette had I'm going to throw this out here. Willamette had the best. Oh, am I not supposed to say?
Willamette.
Willamette.
What the hell?
Willamette?
What? I'm an idiot.
No, everybody
Say,
does
wait.
it, Jody. Same. I called it Willamette when I moved here too.
Sounds
and got
so redneck.
destroyed. Yeah, it's Willamette.
Willamette.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So
I can't
Willamette,
recover.
it's like homoscedasticity. Right? Willamette. What about Willamette? What do we learn?
That its scores were higher and its wine was more expensive.
That is true. Because we got a V shape on the. Oh, you know what? Craptastic. I think I misstated something. No. The price. No. Okay. The region 11 had lower quality or points, but their prices were still higher than region 10, that had higher points and a lower price. So they weren't even. Oh, I think I may have said that weird when I wrote it up. I think I misstated that, but I'm looking at it now and rethinking.
So are the relationships consistent for both outcomes, the price and the ratings, or do they differ?
They differ.
And why do they differ? And where
Can
did
you
they
change my grade based on me realizing that now?
Probably not.
Because I just think I don't know. Why do they differ?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And how many regions did y'all have? Remind me.
3. You said
So what'd you do with
Eastern.
Oregon, Washington?
You said to take it out.
Good. You took it out?
To do what now?
Everybody took it out?
I didn't hear
Yeah.
the first part.
Did
What
we?
else?
You were supposed to take out Oregon, Washington, so you just had Southern, Eastern, and I'm not even going to try to say it. Say it
Well,
again.
okay,
Willamette.
I didn't take it out. I recoded like you were saying the 3 and only looked for those 3.
That's fine. That's good. That's what I want to make sure of. Did anyone go so far as to look at the variety in the Willamette Valley? And if there were differences across regions for all the Pinot Noirs, right?
No, but I
As
did
an
ask that
example.
question.
Did anybody go farther? Take it farther?
No, no. Although those were part of the questions, I was like, well, I mean, if you were to do each region's and the types of wines, or the types of wines for me, if you said only Pinot Noir from the 3 regions, that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of ways you could, because maybe Willamette has better Chardonnay than maybe, or maybe Eastern Oregon has better Chardonnay than Willamette.
The Willamette Valley makes some of the best Pinot Noir I've ever had in my life. And so if you filtered, just take it one step further, if you tried to look at it, you would quickly realize that looking at Pinot Noir, for example, just Pinot Noir in Oregon, if you look at Pinot Noir, if you try to break it out by the valley or the regions, right, Eastern and all that, of the 2,500 plus varieties of Pinot Noir, over 2,200 of them come from the Willamette Valley, right? And that's some of the limitations with data in general, right? Think about wine, because I assume Kara could probably help us understand this better. She's our token wine person now. That regions produce varieties, right? Right? And so the Willamette Valley probably does not produce the best Chardonnay. I don't know. But anyway, it's just interesting when you look at this data, drill it down a little bit further, because you'll notice that like the number of cases go way down, like as soon as you go outside of a particular region. And remember, this is a massive data set, right? You can go far out beyond just Oregon and California. What else did you learn from this? What else would be interesting to know?
I am curious about the ownership of the vineyards, like women in BIPOC owned vineyards. I think would be curious to see how those rate. And then I also was curious about, and it might be actually in the data and I just didn't read it closely enough, but vineyard versus winery and how that kind of plays out, if there's a difference in what that looks like. Anyway.
Actually, tell us what the difference is, Kara, because I don't know.
Oh, a vineyard is where they grow the grapes and make the wine, and a winery is just where they make the wine using somebody else's grapes. They don't grow their own.
Did we all learn something just now? Thank you, Kara.
Sure.
Yeah,
and we have the best Pinot because our climate is mild, and Pinot grapes are mild, delicate grapes. So our little temperate climate apparently is very well suited.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good deal. No problem. All right. Cool. Anybody else want to whine about stats anymore? I gave you your chance. Don't ever say I didn't. Give you a chance to whine about stats. All right. Let's get into project presentation number 2, data storytelling. And yes, Chris, we're going to spend a lot of time today on this. Okay. All right. So has anyone already figured out your analyses that you're going to use?
No, I haven't figured the analysis yet. I had to get the dang story figured out in my head.
Sarah, I saw a side hand.
Yeah, I think I've got mine sorted. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna do an ANOVA for my first analysis, comparing the just sort of caffeine contents across coffee, soda, and fake waters. And then my second analysis will either be, and I'm not sure which one, but the variables that I'm looking at are age and gender and PVCs, premature ventricular contractions. And I would either do a multiple regression, or I thought it might be interesting to do a mediation or moderation, one of those two on that sort of set of variables.
Where's your data coming from?
The caffeine data is from, it's a data set that I found on Kaggle that was updated about 5 months ago, and they pulled that from I'll have to go find it. They linked it out. There's a website where they sort of track caffeine contents for various products out on the market. The PVC data is from, there's a database that MIT and Beth Israel Hospital started maintaining a lot of years ago about heart things, and they made it public. And so it's been used in a lot of different just sort of research studies and analyses on arrhythmias, apparently.
Anybody else?
Like I said, I don't have the data sets yet, but I have a story, and I know where I'm gonna go, I think, for my data. Thankfully, I called my brother and I said, I can't think of anything to do. And we talk about traffic all of the time, like every day. And so it's gonna be a traffic story, which I don't want to spoil the story, so I'll kind of leave that. But I'm gonna go
Good.
GDOT. What?
We're gonna get to stories in a little bit.
What was I gonna tell you?
Oh, I thought you were gonna tell me about the data analysis.
Well, I was getting ready to say that. That's what I said. I said, I'm not gonna tell you the story, but I'm gonna tell you that I found where I can get the data, which is at the Georgia Department of Transportation. They have tons of data sets, which should give me the different things that I need. I imagine I'll use possibly different data sets, or the same and do 2 different tests based on whatever it is I eventually tell. So I don't have the story fully. I just kind of have an idea that it's going to be around that.
2 different data sources.
Okay.
I think I said that a couple of weeks ago, right, y'all?
Noted.
Make sure it's 2. All right, that's okay. So I didn't actually expect anyone to say they had their data already figured out. So good job, killing my vibe here. I was gonna say before you even began.
She's probably already done it, haven't you, nerd girl?
No.
Remember the
Oh, I'm
story.
sorry.
Okay. Everybody remember this from last week, right? How we talk about storytelling. We have to set the setting, know the characters, understand the process, get to the climax, and then resolve it somehow, right? All of these things come into play in almost every story. And so really this is your overall outline. And we need to make sure that we have this kind of emotional response whenever we hear your story. So as you start to figure out what your story is, be sure to follow along with this kind of path. And of course, remember, I also showed you this, where any good data story has to have a balance of data visualization, narrative, and data science, right? You know what each of those 3 things mean, right? This is the Freytag's pyramid, right? this is what we've done in this class, data science, and data visualization you've been doing in other classes, right? This is kind of an interdisciplinary project, right? So not only are these three things necessary for a good data story, they're also your rubric for your grade. Equal parts, 100 points, 33 point whatever, 33 point whatever, 33 point whatever, okay? So I'll be grading you on your narrative, on your data visualization, and on your data science. In previous projects, right, the focus was much more on data science, right? You had a little bit of the other two, but mostly it was data science. This time, all three are viable, all three are necessary, and so equal parts on each. So make sure you put equal attention towards all three. Make sense? All right, so when we think about putting together our data story, again, we've got our characters, our setting, our conflict, our resolution, and possibly a call to action. Calls to action don't always occur. If you have one, great. It's not really 100% necessary, right, depending on the situation. So, but the other four have to be there. And so what I would like for y'all to do is spend a couple of minutes, or quite a few minutes, out here. Has anyone ever heard of a Jamboard? Jody knows, Chris knows. Mamta, have you heard of one? Mamta doesn't know, okay. Kara knows, okay. Well, I didn't know what one was until about a week ago. We used it in my work. We gathered a lot of feedback. I sent you a link to this already, so check your email. You've been invited to go ahead and place your ideas for your characters, your setting, your conflict, and your resolution. All you have to do is bring over, right, a sticky note, and I'll just say, Jody, oops, there you go. Setting is a busy, I don't know, highway. We're talking about traffic, right, Chris? So boom, that's Jody's setting. Be as explicit as you want, change the colors, however you want to do it. But I want to give y'all some time to kind of workshop this, okay? And talk to each other. I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, but I'd really like for y'all to spend time going through each of these four areas, because I think the more you think about them right now, the more likely you're going to be able to play this out in your head and then associate your data analysis with it, okay? So before you get started, the other thing to think about is, where does our data fit, right? Where does our data fit in this whole data storytelling process? Where did my data fit last time that I gave you that example story? Where was that? Do you remember?
It was on the slopey parts.
Say what?
I called it the slopey parts.
Chris, do you have a better term for that? Chris, what were you saying?
No, nothing. It's just where the rising action and the falling action. I don't remember the name, the specific names.
Yeah, that's it. No, yeah. Resolution and conflict, right? That's it. Yeah, similar. So climax is kind of right in here, right? Yeah, it's exactly right. I did it in the conflict and resolution part. Mostly because it contextualizes the conflict, and it also shows that there's some understanding during the resolution. I'm not saying you always have to do that. Oops, sorry. I'm not saying you always have to do that, but it seems to fit there. It can definitely be in the setting. I don't think you're really going to have to describe your characters using this higher order data analysis that we've got, right? But generally, there they are. Okay, so as you're working on the Jamboard, let's come back over here. And again, thinking about what your data analysis might be as you write out your data story. Because again, we have to incorporate this. It's not just storytelling, it's incorporating data analysis too. So why don't we let you take about 15 minutes? Go ahead and get your cards ready. I think everybody's in. Monta, are you in there?
No, not yet.
Okay, it's in your email. Just check your email. You should have a link to it. And if y'all need anything or have any questions, just follow me, right?
I have one question, like not regarding
Yeah.
this, but I had an idea, but I didn't find the data set properly. That's the reason why I couldn't tell you about it. It's like, it's my own story, actually. I'm an F1 student, so having the transition after F1 to OPT, I couldn't get a data set about that, regarding that from any like website. I don't know why. But if I could get that, would you be able to use that to
Say the topic.
analyze?
Mom, to say the topic one more time, you're kind of cut. Your vocal audio quality isn't very good right now.
Like transitioning from F1 to OPT.
Oh, like a international student status? Is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
F1 visa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I couldn't find the
Yeah.
data set of students that are graduating.
I'll keep looking. Y'all play around on the Jamboard, but yeah, we'll look at it. Here we go.
Okay.
Foreign graduate enrollment in science and engineering continues to rise. Overall enrollment flat. I know that there's probably going to be some tables out here. Goodness gracious, hard to read, huh?
I got one article which was useful, but there was no data set there. It just had the analysis done.
Here's
Like-
a link. If you can download that table.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I always go to the National Science Foundation because they do a lot of data analysis and research on graduate students. And so if you come out here to this one, this is called, well, we call it the postdoc in science and engineering survey. But let's see if we can dig in.
I didn't know about this.
Survey of earned doctorates.
Thank you.
So there's, Monty, do you see this? Temporary visa holder, right? Usually allow you to add that as a filter, but maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to send you this. This is the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. There we go. So you may find the data here, right?
It's okay. I'll do it later.
What's that, Monta?
It's okay. I can do it later.
Oh, I'm playing with it. You're good. I sent you the link. So yeah, there's a lot of data out here by citizenship, though. I think it might be helpful for you. Okay.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So y'all, okay. So make sure you get on there and do your Jamboard. Delete these, so we're just there as placeholders. Momta, did you get the email link?
Yes, I'm in there.
Okay, cool. Oh, there you are. Yeah, I see it now. All right, cool. All right, that'll take some time.
You guys, I had to change my topic 3 or 4 times because every time I found a topic, I couldn't get data.
That's what I'm worried about, and I haven't started looking, and I know I should have.
Stop it right now. Eric. I can't. Oh. I'll just leave it. It's good practice for me. Jody, I'm so curious what you find because I'm from a tiny town.
I hope I can find something. I mean, I think I can find it, but the
Yeah.
comparison, the analysis is what I'm worried about.
Oh, and this Jamboard's not going anywhere. It's not getting deleted or lost, or it's going to be out here for y'all. So come back to it throughout the next couple of weeks, okay?
If anybody's curious, we use this for birthdays at our office. So instead of people having to sign the card, you can create a calendar, and then everybody can go in and add a sticky note for the month of that person's birthday. It's pretty cool if y'all do that kind of stuff.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
We had to use it. Are any of you doing systems and critical thinking? No, because that's not a summer course. We had to do this for that. It was interesting. Eric, I have a question.
Go for it.
Regarding my resolution data part, is like I could do either of those? Is it the kind of thing where I could like run them both and just see which one's more interesting? Or
Hey, y'all, sorry about that. So we're just,
okay.
everybody's picking a different color and doing the 4 different things.
oh gee.
Can y'all hear me?
Joe?
Yes, Chris, welcome back.
Yes,
I hope
I-
everything's okay.
Oh, I can't hear anything.
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us, Chris?
Obviously not. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say, I said they die. I don't know where all that other just came from. I mean, it's not a pleasant tale, but oh my God. Eric, if you could go ahead and fill out my data and the analysis, that would be great.
It's a book, y'all. Have you ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
I'll put it in the chat.
Is it funny? I'm only reading funny things right now.
Don't read it.
Okay, I won't then.
No, it's not. Oh my God, depressing. No.
Mm. Malta. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun. Did you find out with your toddler is a boy? Is that right?
My toddler is a boy,
Okay. Yeah.
and now I'm having a girl, so I'm done now.
You're done. Does your son know it's a girl?
No, he doesn't even know I have a baby in my tummy.
How old is he?
He will be 3 in July.
Oh, okay.
Little. Yeah.
Wow, the background changed.
Thrilling. Hmm. Good gravy, Chris. That's a nasty commute.
Too long.
I'm really liking the juxtaposition between Jody and Monta's stories here, especially the resolution. Birth and death all in the same file.
I'm glad it's not me with the birth. So
Are we ready to talk about these, or need a few more minutes? Oh no. Chris, can you hear us? Can anybody? Chris, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Everybody
now.
starts. There you go. All right. We're about to start singing. Okay, who wants to go first? Talk us through it.
Do you want us to tell the actual details of the story?
No,
Oh.
no. What I'd like to know is how the characters and the setting for your character specifically, like, are you just including yourself in the story as an example, or is this a actual story?
It's an
Like a real. Okay.
actual story.
All right. So, your story is you and a few other folks. Who are those other folks?
Sherry and a barista.
Put that on there.
Okay. Oh, I'm trying to edit one that I can. It'll just take me a hot minute to bring back up the window.
What's going on?
I was trying to edit your screen instead of the actual Jamboard.
Okay, I've done that twice, so I didn't want to say anything. Thank God it's not just me.
How's that?
I tried to spread a picture in a magazine with my fingers once.
I do it all the time, constantly. Oh my gosh.
All right. All right. So what? Tell us about Beaverton. Is that a town?
It's where I live.
It sounds made up, doesn't it, y'all?
Nike
Yeah.
Town, right?
Oh yeah, Nike's just a stone's throw away in the lovely Willamette Valley.
Okay. Okay. So your conflict, you've got data there, but what's the conflict itself?
I don't know if it's necessarily content. I'll just say the rising action is a negative response to caffeine consumption. How about that?
By you?
Yeah.
Now, you started talking about the resolution phase, and to me, that kind of sounds a little bit more like a climax, right?
Like a what?
A climax type thing. Like, and there's this difference between outcomes or its impact on males or females, right? Like, that's kind of like taking your first analysis, making it to climax, and then saying, because of this, we want to do X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever that may be. Or are you thinking about it differently?
I was thinking of a little bit differently, I guess. I was just thinking of, I don't know. What I thought of was, oh, here's a story. If I'm looking at that,
Of a lovely lady.
I'm sorry.
I said, of a lovely lady.
Oh yes,
It was very
living with lovely girls. Yeah, no, the climax is the drama, and there's no data associated with that. The caffeine comparison was just because caffeine created the problem, and so I thought, well, let's just look at caffeine.
okay. I'm moving these on purpose. Okay. What then is the climax? Or did you already say it out loud?
No, the climax is I had to go get an EKG.
Got it. Okay, there you go. I added the climax, y'all. Sorry, I forgot that little step. Always good to have one. Move them up. Thank you, Chris. All right. Okay. So. Thank you, Kara, for correcting my alignment. Who here is OCD like me?
I just
When
like
it comes to stuff like this, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think it is funny that everyone kept the same color, right? Throughout your entire story, everything is the same color. Why would you do that? Why not have
Categorization.
different colors?
Like this is a statistical answer, maybe. And we just wanted to, our categorization.
it's for visual simplicity.
Yeah, sure. You're not getting graded on color, y'all. Well, you will in your data visualization. An effective use of color is very important, right? Okay, so Kara, your data, you've kind of thought about this. I would lean towards the mediation moderation analysis if I were you, because that really tells you either something's affecting the relationship or if the relationship is being altered by multiple things, right?
Yeah.
And all a multiple integration tells you is there a relationship, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not telling you what you have to do. It all depends on how it works. But good luck. Do you have public access available data besides the content of the caffeine? and the piece. And do you have data for those?
I do, yeah. The data set on PVCs, it's a small data set, and I figured you might not like it because it's the subjects are from kind of back in the day, but because it's this MIT/BIH sort of collaboration data that's been I don't know, just really well vetted and used in all kinds of analyses about things, I figured it might be okay.
Okay. I'm not saying you have to have a perfectly woven data story, right?
Right.
Yeah. Jody, tell us about your story outline.
So the story I'm thinking about is I went back to the little town where I grew up this weekend, which I go a lot, but there's not much there. But my husband and I were just walking around, and it occurred to me, like, when my father was alive, I remember him telling stories about, like, there was a movie theater and there was, restaurants, and now there's a post office and a gas station, and that's pretty much it. So I was thinking the story of how small towns are dying out. And so my comparison, and here's where I need to get on this comparison of, like, maybe population or income, primary occupation, number of businesses, and all different ways of back then versus now, or what created that. Like, I don't know. Like the highways going away or Walmart coming in, but I don't know what kind of information I'll be able to find.
So have you ever gone to the census?
That would be a good start. Yes.
I know a lot of people think census is people, but actually the census is under the Department of Commerce. And the
Okay.
Department of Commerce looks at business formation. They've got a really good data set on business formation. So think about that small town. How many new businesses have really cropped up there in the last 5 years?
Okay.
I mean, I'm just giving you an example, right?
No, sure. And it doesn't necessarily have to
but
be this small town. Like, it could be, I mean, what my town is what spurred this, but it could, be any small town.
Right. Yeah. This is like your town, right? It's a Broadway show, right?
Yeah.
It could be any town. I think, I'm just giving y'all, and y'all please share on each other, give each other ideas about where data might come from too. I think, trying to look real quick, I think it's at the county level,
Okay.
but I could be wrong, but nonetheless. Okay, keep going. Keep talking.
Well, that was about it. And so I know I need to do more research. I mean, other things that I think about, or now that I'm saying it, or if I can find like building permits. You're talking about the number of businesses, but like building permits or value of buildings, if how those obviously how those declined over the years, like property value.
Is this county adjacent to like a metropolitan area, or is it removed?
The county has actually a city in it which is Thomasville. That won't mean anything to you, but so there's a part of the county that's a very well-to-do main city, and then my little town is in the same county, but it's not well-to-do. So that's kind of what concerns me. Is it going to be skewed because you have a rich city and then the poor city?
Okay, that's interesting. How are you going to define rich and poor?
I hadn't thought about that until now.
Okay.
I mean, income, obviously, like if you could find information on, like, the rich town has a really robust downtown area that's known throughout the state as a big tourist attraction. So I'm thinking like even number of visitors or things like that. Number of businesses. So you're saying I could compare rich and poor and not just focus so much on poor then and now.
Yeah, I think, well, if you think about it, right, time series, there are differences, but looking at, if you wanted to kind of break it out and say, counties in, I'm just going to pick on Georgia, right? I don't even know if this is in Georgia. Is this in Georgia?
Yes.
Okay. You know, you could always say counties that are adjacent, even rural counties that are adjacent to, you know, metropolitan areas or whatever they are, non-rural counties, have actually grown or rather lost population at a slower rate over time, right? Than counties that are non-adjacent to metropolitan areas. I put a link in the chat that talks about what do we mean by what is rural, right?
Okay.
And so I use rural data a lot. That may be one way to think about it. But thinking, you know, rural versus urban versus suburban, you know, people all over the United States, rural areas are becoming much more sparse.
Right.
But I think it would be interesting if you could get the business formation data and say that population loss is possibly driving, you know, the lack of business formation
Sure.
in these areas. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, y'all.
No, I mean, those are, thank you.
Kara, you want me to talk about yours?
Hey, I have something that might amuse you. So our governor just signed a no, you don't have to have a permit to carry your gun. So at our school today, we got a notice. The Philadelphia campus got a notice that they have a mask mandate going into effect on the 18th. We got a notice that you can't bring your gun on campus despite the governor saying that you could carry without a permit. So speaking of Georgia and small town, I thought you would appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
That'd be
wild.
fine.
So I don't know if Kara was carrying her gun to the winery, but you could do that here.
Do I strike you as a governor?
No, you do not, but I'm just saying, if you
So
move
let
here.
me just clarify. If she can carry a gun to the winery, but she can't carry it to the vineyard.
Correct.
Okay. Good. That's the only thing I've learned tonight from y'all. No, I'm joking. I've learned a lot from y'all already. Okay, Jody. Yeah, keep moving in that direction. Try to, you know, there's a lot of public data though that in regards to this. There's a lot of public data in regard to small towns or counties and their economic conditions, population, all that kind of stuff. So I think you have access to a whole crap load, to use a technical term. The problem would be, of course, finding what you need or want.
Right.
Mountain, go for it.
My also actually my own issue that happened after my during my previous campus. So my professor had lost his funding after COVID, and I had to graduate early because of that. Otherwise, I would graduate in fall, but I had to graduate in summer because my professor didn't have funding at all. And the problem with us international student is if we finish our study, then after the finishing date, we can only stay here for 60 days. And if until that 60 days, we don't file for the OPT, that is optional practical training, and within 90 days of getting that OPT, if we don't find a job, we have to go back to our country. So that's something that I had to deal with. And otherwise, if I shifted in other study background, then I would have my F1 visa valid. So I had to do something within 3 months. of summer. So I applied for PhD, and I was pretty late already because my professor knew about his funding not being able to come late. So I was already late for applying for my PhD. And so I had to keep applying for jobs. And when I applied for jobs, I found out that many of the people don't sponsor you. They ask a question like, if you have like if you need a job sponsorship afterwards, but I wouldn't need it now, and maybe like not even for 3 years, but they were like, you will need it in future, so we can't take you. Even if I had the skills that they needed for the job, I couldn't get the job. So that was something that I had to deal with. And then I got rejected a lot of times. And then potentially getting rejected a lot of times. I thought maybe it is due to my skills. And so I decided to join another master's. And also it would help my status remain the same, because if I go to my country, there would be an issue with me not being able to take my child, because I can only take my child for 3 months because he is a US citizen. So US doesn't let me take my child to my country for more than 3 months. Otherwise, I have to do or something penalty or something like that, and I can't come back. So that's it. And I joined the data analysis program, and now my F1 visa is valid.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, y'all, I don't know if y'all saw the link I put in the chat, Monta, but I just put a chat from the Pew Research Center that did research on foreign students staying and working in the U.S. after graduation. And it talks about OPT. It talks about F1 visa. So maybe it will give folks a little bit more of a clarity as to what you're talking about. In fact, this is, I don't know if there's actual data. I'm looking in the references now. If you click, I think, onto page 4, it's Appendix A, and it has all the references. It looks like it has Immigration Service reports that may have been referenced here. So you may find some data within these reports.
It's the article from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Oh, not census, immigration. Immigration.
Oh, Pew Research Center. Okay.
Here we go. I'll send you a link to the appendix there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, this is interesting stuff too. Y'all are killing it. But yeah, so at least that's a start, right? And I think you did a good job explaining what the problem is. Can we all agree to that?
Yeah. And also after completing this master's, also I have to go through the same phase, and I don't even know if I will get a job.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. Hey, thank you. All right, so Chris.
All right, so the characters are myself and my son. The setting is Atlanta school and work commute, daily commute. The conflict was awful traffic and 3-hour round trip commute. That's a guess. I just threw that in there, which was negatively affecting my mental health and well-being, both of our health, but to be honest with you. And then the climax, was moving closer to at a higher cost, going to improve my well-being. These are questions I would have to re-evaluate exactly how I write that part, but these are my thoughts. What can I afford and where? And then of course I needed to stay in my county to keep my son in the same school. So exactly where could I go and not have to drive so far every single day? And the resolution is I moved to home closer to work and school. So some of it is going to be maybe some real estate data, you know, maybe comparing cost of living between two areas. And I mean, because these are valid thoughts in our mind. It's like, do I want, I mean, I could stay here, pay a lot less, but have this awful commute, which just literally depresses me. Or I can pay more, have a lesser commute, but I'm going to pay for it. So I'm paying for, you know, less stress. And then as far as the actual commute, I'm looking at GDOT data just to see, I don't know what I'm going to pull yet. What would be like, okay, that actually is relatable to the story, or, you know, kind of ties into the story. I don't know, you know, maybe the average amount of a distance rather that a person's driving, you know, how far are people driving to and from work? You know, do more people live closer to their job, or, you know, or and possibly even, this is a question probably won't get answered here, but, you know, do people stay in their homes for their school? That might be a data. I mean, a lot of people move to places for better schools. So it may not necessarily, but I feel like I need to get the commute stuff in there, because if the drive wasn't so bad, it wasn't as if it was long. It was awful. It was just a few miles, but a crap ton of traffic. So, and then, you know, maybe there is some mental health, you know, how does traffic affect people's mental health or their well-being? And then furthermore, there may be some new data about the work from home shift and people's increased or decreased well-being. Of course, I would wonder, and then I'd have to think about that, the test, because that was triggered by the pandemic. So while you may be good well-being, I get to work from home, yay, but you also may be like bad well-being because you're, you know, essentially kind of trapped at home as well. So I may leave that out of the scenario. But of course, I moved just in time for the pandemic to hit. So anyway, that's the story. And I see you put a lot of links.
I did.
Mm-hmm. Stuck in
So-
stress. Yeah. Oh God, that's a good one.
So remember, don't forget to like reference. You'll hear people do this in your TED Talks, right? They reference other studies too. So you know, not saying you have to do a full-on lit review, but it may be helpful to do some of this other, you know, stuff that supports what you're doing, right? You'll hear through the TED Talks, or who someone said they've watched 1 or 2 of them, right? Who's watched the video so far? Jody, did they just talk about themselves the whole time, or did they kind of parlay into it, like, you know, other stuff?
Parlayed into it, kind of explained what made them look at things. And then I've watched and I say the first one, I can't think of his name, but he talked about a lot of the data related to New York City, like bicyclists and things like that. So it was, even though it wasn't necessarily connected, it was still part of a similar theme.
Right. Yeah, he talks a lot about New York City data. I know who you're talking about. He's pretty good. Y'all are gonna enjoy it. Which video would y'all like to watch during class tonight? Because Chris asked for it.
Yay. But I have one quick question. And maybe it's answered in the one video, but it has to do with you saying referencing others, because I'm thinking of just TED Talks in general. May I, or may we reference something like 20% of blah, 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 according to such and such, but not necessarily dig into, that's just part of how we build up the story, is by
Yeah,
using
that's
that.
yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. I expect that kind of stuff to show up, right? Yeah.
All right. I say Russian
First
roulette.
one.
I have no choice. I don't care.
I only listed them alphabetically. You should not take this as which one you should watch first. Okay.
Even though human nature will just click start at the top and keep going. Maybe.
Ready?
Yep.
Does everybody feel the climax right there when we click generate random number generator? So, number 6, right? There it is. Oh, this one's a little bit long. It's about 15 minutes.
Okay. Pick a shorter one. You know which one's the shorter
Yeah,
one.
just pick one. Oh, I've already seen this one too, but I'll watch it again.
Maria walked into the elevator at work. She went to press the button when her phone fell out of her hand, bounced on the floor, and went straight down that little opening between the elevator and the floor. And she realized it wasn't just her phone. It was a phone wallet that had her driver's license, her credit card, her whole life. Went to the front desk to talk to Ray, the security guard. Ray was really happy to see her. Maria's one of the few people that actually stops and says hello to him each day. In fact, she's one of these people that knows your birthday and your favorite food and your last vacation, not because she's weird. She just genuinely likes people and likes them to feel seen. He tells Ray what happened, and he said it's going to cost at least $500 to get her phone back, and he goes to get a quote while she goes back to her desk. 20 minutes later, he calls her, and he said, Maria, I was looking at the inspection certificate in the elevator. It's actually due for its annual inspection next month. I'm going to go ahead and call that in today, and we'll be able to get your phone back, and it won't cost you anything. The same day this happened, I read an article about the CEO of Charles Schwab, Walter Benninger. He's describing his straight A career at university, going into his last exam, expecting to ace it, when the professor gives one question. What is the name of the person that cleans this room? And he failed the exam. He had seen her, but he had never met her before. Her name was Dottie, and he made a vow that day to always know the Dotties in his life. Because both Walter and Maria understand this power of helping people feel seen, especially as a leader. I used that story back when I worked at General Electric. I was responsible for shaping culture in a business of 90,000 employees in 150 countries. And I found that stories were such a great way to connect with people and have them think, what would I do in this situation? Would I have known Dottie, or who are the Dotties I need to know in my life? I found that no matter people's gender or their generation or their geography in the world, the stories resonated and worked. But in my work with leaders, I've also found they tend to be allergic to telling stories. They're not sure where to find them, or they're not sure how to tell them, or they think they have to present data and that there's just not room to tell story. And that's where I want to focus today. Because storytelling and data is actually not this either or. It's an and. They actually create this power of outlet that connects you to information differently. To understand how, we have to first understand what happens neurologically when you're listening to a story and data. So if you're in a lecture or you're in a meeting, two small parts of your brain are activated. We're in a Broca's area. This is where you're processing information, and it's also why you tend to forget 50% of it right after you hear it. When you listen to a story, your entire brain starts to light up. Each of your lobes will light up as your senses and your emotions are engaged. I talk about a phone falling and hitting the ground with a thud. Your occipital and your temporal lobes are lighting up as though you were actually seeing that fall phone and hearing it hit with a thud. There's this term, neural coupling, which says, as the listener, your brain will light up exactly as mine as a storyteller. It mirrors this activity as though you are actually experiencing these things. Storytelling gives you this artificial reality. If I talk to you about like walking through the snow, and with each step, the snow is crunching under my shoes, big wet flakes are falling on my cheeks, brains are now lighting up as though you are walking through the snow and experiencing these things. It's why you can sit in an action movie and not be moving, but your heart is racing as though you are the star on screen, because this neural coupling has your brain lighting up as though you were having that activity. As you listen to stories, you automatically gain empathy for the storyteller. The more empathy you experience, the more oxytocin is released in your brain. Oxytocin is the feel-good chemical, and the more oxytocin you have, the more trustworthy you actually view the speaker. This is why storytelling is such a critical skill for a leader, because the very act of telling a story makes people trust you more. As you begin to listen to data, some different things happen. There's some misconceptions to understand. The first is that data doesn't change our behavior, emotions do. If data changed our behavior, we would all sleep 8 hours and exercise and floss daily and drink 8 glasses of water. That's not how we actually decide.
I just want y'all to note how much text is on the screen in this presentation, okay? You hear me?
How much what?
Exercise and floss daily and drink 8 glasses of water. That's not how we actually decide. Neuroscientists have studied decision making, and it starts in our amygdala. It's our emotional epicenter, where we have the ability to experience emotions, and it's here at a subconscious level where we begin to decide. We make choices to pursue pleasure or to avoid risk, all before we become aware of it. At the point we become aware, where it comes to a conscious level, we start to apply rationalization and logic, which is why we think we're making these rationally based decisions, not realizing that they were already decided in our subconscious. Antonio Damasio is a neuroscientist that started to study patients that had damage to their amygdala, fully functioning in every way except they could not experience emotions. And as a result, they could not make decisions. Something as simple as, do I go this way or this way? They were incapable of doing because they could not experience emotion. These were people that were wildly successful before they had the damage to their amygdala, and now they couldn't complete any of their projects, and their careers took big hits, all because they couldn't experience emotions where we decide. Another data misconception. Data never speaks for itself. Our brains love to anticipate, and as we anticipate, we fill in the gaps on what we're seeing or hearing with our own knowledge and experience and our own bias. It means my understanding of data is going to differ from yours, and it's going to differ from yours because we're all going to have our own interpretation if there isn't a way to guide us through. Now, I'm not suggesting that data is bad and story is good. They both play a key role. And to understand how, you have to see what makes a great story. It's going to answer 3 questions. The first is, what is the context? Meaning, what's the setting? Who's involved? Why should I even care? What's the conflict? Where's that moment where everything changes? And what is the outcome?
Sound familiar?
Where is it different? What is the takeaway? A good story also has 3 attributes. The first being, it is going to build and release tension. Because our brains love to anticipate, a great story builds tension by making you wonder, where is she going with this? What's happening next? Right? A good story keeps your attention going. and it releases it by sharing something unexpected. And it does this over and over throughout the story. Great story also builds an idea. It helps you see something that you can no longer unsee, leaving you changed, because stories actually do leave you changed. And a great story communicates value. Stanford has done research on one of the best ways to shape organizational culture, and it is storytelling, because it's going to demonstrate what you value and encourage, or what you don't value and what you discourage. As you start to write your power ballad, most people want to start with the data. They want to dig in because we often have piles of data, but there's a common mistake we make when we do that. I was working with a CEO. She came to me to prepare for her annual company-wide meeting, and she had 45 slides of data for a 45-minute presentation, a recipe for a boring, unmemorable talk. And this is what most people do. They come armed with all of this data, and they try to sort their way through without a big picture, and then they lose their way. We actually put the data aside, and I asked her, what's the problem you're trying to solve? What do you want people to think and feel different? And what do you want people to do different at the end of this? That is where you start with data and storytelling. You come up with this framework to guide the way through both the story and the data. In her case, she wants her company to be able to break into new markets, to remain competitive. She ended up telling a story about her daughter, who's a gymnast who's competing for a scholarship, and she had to learn new routines with increasing difficulty to be competitive. This is one of your choices. Do you tell a story about the data itself, or do you tell a parallel story where you pull out points from the story to reinforce the data? As you begin this ballad, this melody and harmony of data and storytelling come together in a way that will stay with you long after. Brianna was a college advisor. She was asked to present to her university leadership when she realized that a large population of their students with autism were not graduating. She came to me because her leaders kept saying, present the data, focus on the data. But she felt like university officials already had the data. She was trying to figure out how to help them connect with it. So we worked together to help her tell the story about Michelle. Michelle was a straight A student in high school who had these dreams of going to university. Michelle was also a student with autism who was terrified about how she would be able to navigate the changes of the university. Her worst fears came true in her first phone call with her advisor, when he asked her questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what are your career aspirations? Questions that are hard for anybody. But for a person with autism, to have to respond to verbally, paralyzing. Got off the phone, was ready to drop out until her parents sat down with her and helped her write an email to her advisor. She told them that she was a student with autism, which was really hard for her to share because she felt like there was a stigma associated just by sharing that. She told him that she preferred to communicate in writing. If he could send her questions in advance, she would be able to send replies back to him before they got on the phone to have a different conversation. He followed her lead, and within a few weeks, they found all of these things they have in common, like a love for Japanese anime. After 3 semesters, Michelle is a straight A student thriving in the university. At this point, Brianna starts to share some of the data that less than 20% of the students with autism are graduating. And it's not because they can't handle the coursework, because they can't figure out how to navigate the university, this very thing an advisor is supposed to be able to help you do. That over the course of a lifetime, the earning potential of someone with a college degree over a high school degree is $1 million. It's a big amount, but for a person with autism that wants to be able to live independent from their family, it's life-changing. Close with, we say our whole passion and purpose is to help people be their best, to help them be successful, but we're hardly giving our best service by applying this one-size-fits-all approach and just letting people fall through the cracks. We can and we should do better. There are more Michelles out there, and I know because Michelle is my daughter. In that moment, the jaws in the room went, and someone even wiped away tears because she had done it. She had connected them to information differently. She helped them see something they couldn't unsee. Could she have done that with data alone? Maybe. But the thing is, they already have the data. They didn't have a reason not to overlook the data this time. That's the power of storytelling and data. Together, they come together in this way to help build ideas, to help you see things you can't unsee, to help communicate what's valued, and to help tap into that emotional way that we all decide. As you all move forward, shaping the passion and purpose of others as leaders, don't just use data, use stories. And don't wait for the perfect story. Take your stories and make it perfect. Thank you.
What'd you think?
I love the last line.
Which one?
Don't wait for the perfect story. Take your story and make it perfect.
I like that too.
What'd you say?
So I said I like it too.
Oh,
So did she cover everything she said she was going to talk about in a good story, which is characters, setting, conflict, right? Did she elaborate on all that for you? How did she start her TED Talk?
With a story that we could all relate to or could imagine relating happening to us.
Which one?
Oh, the elevator, dropping your phone in the elevator.
Yeah, right. I mean, do we all have a fear of dropping our phones?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Where I used to live, we did not have elevators. I lived in the Mississippi Delta. It was very poor, very rural. There were no buildings that were 2 stories because we had plenty of land. There's no reason to build tall. We built wide. So for me, I wrote her a note and I said, I love your story, but I don't hear that phone ever dropping in the elevator, right? I don't know what that means. And we talked back and forth a little bit. It was fun. She understood. But nonetheless, start with your story, right? Start with the story. Connect to your audience. Help people hear, see, feel, smell, taste something. So Kara, your example, right? Caffeine. How many of us have drank way too much coffee or not had enough of something, and we feel either jittery or lethargic?
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna feel that a little bit maybe then. But Chris, I mean, God bless. All you have to say is bumper to bumper, and I think we all cringe.
It's horrible.
Yeah. And Jody, you've already explained, talked about the dying towns. All you have to say is dying towns, and I think we see tumbleweeds going across the road, right?
Or the movie Cars, if you've seen that.
Yeah. And Mamta, I mean, just again, like she mentioned, right? The story of students and all the trials that students go through. Every day is a struggle sometimes as a student, regardless of if you know how to navigate it or not. Even for you, in your story that you talked about, it's kind of like even navigating the post-school environment is difficult, right? Right? Getting through is one thing, but then getting to the next step is the next. So yeah, I think she did a good job of helping us. Oh, go ahead, Mamta. I'm sorry.
I was saying, yeah, I think that what you said is really, I have gone through that phase, but I have to go through it again, and I don't know what's going to happen because it's just like I have to deal with a lot of things. Like my husband now has a also his PhD to complete, and I cannot leave them alone, like my family. I can't leave them and just go to my country. It's just something that I can't do. So I need to think about a backup plan.
Yeah. So all that being said, I mean, just that's one video, right? But it's funny to me that she talked the walk, right? And she walked the talk at the same time. You don't often hear people talk about telling stories by telling stories very well. You kind of experience it, or you kind of think about it, but you really don't get to immerse yourself in it like she did. I think that's a really good one. That's one of my favorites. So thinking about how to engage, and you're going to see others, of course, do this as well, just as a reminder, right? We have to incorporate our data somewhere. So I would spend, again, a third of your time getting your narrative ready, a third of your time getting your data ready as far as collecting, and then a third of your time getting it ready to present visually. Did you see? I mean, she didn't have a lot of charts and graphs, of course. I expect you to have at least a chart, right? You got to present data visually. But how much text did she have on her slide?
Not a lot.
At all.
It was about like this, right? About like that, right? And this is, again, knowing your story. I don't expect you all to try to memorize things or read off of a page, but tell the story, right? I told you my story last week. Delaney wasn't here. I didn't have any notes. I just knew that story because that's her story, right? And it just, you might have to take practice or whatever, but again, you've got time. So this week's discussion, just as a recap on what is expected, two of the links. You've seen one. I'm not going to prevent you from using that one. That would be rude of me, right? To make you watch it and then tell you can't use it. But do this on your own, right? Do this on your own. Don't collaborate, right? And then I do expect for you to respond to each other in a more collaborative sense. But specifically, I want you to create an outline of the talks that you watch. This will help you also create an outline for yourself, right? Notice how they structure it. Notice how this speaker, she started with a story, kind of warmed us up a little bit, introduced the topic, and then went back to another story. It was kind of interesting how she did that. She kind of kept us going. And for 15 minutes, I think you kind of have to do that sometimes. If she was only talking for 5 minutes, I think we would have been good with one. But sometimes, a lot can be said in 15 minutes. Think about not only the similarities of the topic. What I mean by similarities, differences, is how do the speakers talk? Like, how do they present their topic? How much data do they use? How much do they rely on storytelling? How much do they rely on empathy? What senses are they trying to get at, right? She was definitely trying to get at our kinesthetic sense, right? Our muscles tensioning up about the cell phone or the action movie, right? I kind of felt that too when she said it. How many of y'all kind of took a little bit of a second breath whenever she said, and the lady said it was her daughter, right? I know this is true because she's my daughter, right? I did. I was like, and don't tell Delaney because I do get emotional from time to time. But Delaney, by the way, my wife doesn't think I have any emotion. I don't know if I've told all that. She, yeah, because we're, when you're married, it's just marriage. But anyway, so when we think about similarities and differences, don't just say one spoke for 5 minutes, one spoke for 10. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how they did the storytelling thing, okay? And then tell me what you learned that you plan to incorporate. What are your clear takeaways that you are going to not necessarily replicate, but incorporate? And then, of course, I want y'all to respond to your classmates, but I want you to give either constructive feedback and examples, like give each other suggestions, right? Don't say, I agree, blah, 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 blah. I hate those kinds of discussions, y'all. That's why I really don't like for people to have to respond to each other's discussions, because in my sociology class, I try to get my students to talk to each other, and they're like, I agree with your perspective, and I'm like, that's fantastic, but what are you learning in that discussion, right? So instead, I expect for you to give each other feedback and suggestions and tips. Okay? Mamta, I see you put something in the chat. What'd you put in the chat?
Yeah, I got a research paper regarding will they stay or will they go, the international graduate students. So I just thought maybe you could have a look at it and tell me if that is relevant for my storytelling.
Yeah. Awesome. So it says here, first place I went, right? You can tell I look at these kinds of things a good bit. I'm like, where's the data availability? All the data are available from blah, blah, blah.
There is an updated version. There's 2 versions. Let me share that. Oh, yeah, you got the link.
Yeah, look at that. Don't run the same analysis they did in the article if you use this, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
That's cool though. So yeah, so interesting. I've never heard of this before. Awesome. Good job. More or less. I'll have to, yeah, I'll dig around more. Sure. Thank you. Okay, sorry, get back over here. Okay. And then respond to your classmates. Sound good? Are y'all good with that? Any questions? Any questions?
None from me.
No,
Any questions about what's on the slide?
Can you hear us?
Compensated.
Any
all.
questions about what's on the slide?
no. Can you hear us, Eric?
You're not going
I
to give
can
us
hear
that
you.
point.
Okay, sorry.
Mom, what'd you say?
I don't think you're going to give us that point. You're just writing it down.
Oh, it's being recorded. I want to make sure y'all saw the slide. I know sometimes you get distracted and maybe look at another screen or what. I know you're all doing your research on your talk right now, but I want to make sure you read the slide. Do you read the slide? What does it say, Jody?
It says, what, you want me to read this whole thing or just include a link to your favorite TED Talk at the end of your response from 1 point of extra credit, not one of the options in this assignment, watch 2 of the TED Talks. No, I'm going to finish.
Nope, you're good. You're good. Nope, you're good. You're good. Mamta, what does the slide say at the bottom?
Can you repeat the question again?
What's the last bullet in the slide say?
Not one of the options in this assignment.
Well, yeah, good deal. Last sentence is fine. Chris, do you understand what the last bullet says?
Yes.
And Tara.
I'm good.
Does anybody already have a favorite TED Talk?
I have a ton of them.
Which one's your favorite, Chris?
I shared it with the group a while ago. It's called the Trouble with the Single Story. I have to find it.
Oh, that's a good one. I remember you sent that to me.
Yeah. Her name is it's written by Chimananda Ngozi Adichie, Adecheche, and she tells a beautiful story about
Awesome.
seeing things from
I
one
look forward-
point of view.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing that link in your discussion. Has anyone ever seen this one?
Oh,
No, but are you in this? Obviously, it's not your TED Talk, but is this talk about your research?
No, I'm not in this. This was done in 15. This was before I became a vexillologist.
I've never seen a TED Talk that I did not like. I've not seen this one, but
Oh,
I
it's
literally-
fantastic. I'm not. Yeah, it's 18 minutes. I'll put it in the discussion myself. I
Okay.
get an extra point this week, right?
Yes, you do.
All right, cool. Well, okay. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's not in the assignment, but as Monta mentioned, it is definitely in the recording. You will get a point extra credit. This is
straight from the
I hope this is
suggestion.
helpful.
Thank you.
Say what?
I just said you're listening to the feedback that you asked us for.
I am. I do listen to you all. You know that. I hope this is helpful though, in terms of helping you think about how to put together a story, the storytelling process. I know there's tons of other TED Talks, right? But I tried to find, I don't know if y'all saw the list, but yeah, it's gone now. Sorry. There it is. So the list is all about data. It's all about storytelling. I thought that would be helpful, but also good examples on data viz, that power and effective data source. That's another good one. Turning bad charts, right? Anyway, everything's data related because this is a data analysis course. But y'all, again, good luck. Next week, what are we doing?
It's
week-
voluntary if you want to come to class.
No. That's your office hour.
No, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be in office. I mean, office hours are always office hours, but it's more, if y'all want to talk, get together, ask questions, anything like that, I'm happy to help. We may even use it, if y'all want to, as a time to really dig into the data stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Sound like a good use of time?
Yes, very.
Hey, anybody have any questions? Everybody feeling a little bit better about this process now?
Yes.
Yeah, talking about it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm so glad I mentioned it to my brother. It's like, do it on something you talk about all the time, which is terrific.
Yeah. Graduation is in about a month, right? The 14th. You don't know? Nobody knows, right? Okay.
None of us are
Delaney and I-
graduating, are we?
Mine
No.
is in 15th.
No. We may come. Who knows? We'll see. It all depends on how the next couple of weeks go. But
So maybe we could
I-
all get for dinner or something.
I have a question. Are we going to get a grade on our presentation 1? Did you add it yet?
oh yeah, it's on my desk at the office at home. Sorry.
Okay, I just was wondering.
Yeah, no, it's like right there on top. Sorry, I haven't got. I will go home tonight and add those grades in.
I
How about
know
that?
you're busy. I just was like, that's the one. And I was like, that was gonna kind of that gives a little confidence in like step 2, where we're going with this next one. And knowing if I have to like, I mean, obviously I'm going to try to do my best, but okay, thank you for that.
Do your best. But yeah, dinner, who knows? If we come, I might come for a day and leave out the day. I don't know. Who knows? My wife is telling me to go on Friday because there's a little get together with program students, whatever. I don't know. But y'all know I'm not social, so if I show up, I'll let y'all know.
I keep forgetting that Kara doesn't live here either, so I'm sorry. That would be rude. We're all going to get
Well, that's
together
a good
but
thing.
you.
No, that's definitely coming up.
I'll get together. I'll send you some award-winning Willamette Valley Pinot. You can share it without me.
How did Jody pronounce it earlier?
Please don't.
No, everybody does it, Jody. Literally every person who's not born and raised here calls it Willamette.
Because that's what it
That's
says.
what it looks like, yeah.
Kara, do you know how I know it's Willamette?
Well, because you like Pinots, apparently.
Well, I do like Pinots, but I actually learned the proper way of speaking that word when I hung out on the rooftop of a hotel bar in DC with the Willamette National Forest Rangers who delivered the National Christmas tree to Washington, D.C. in 2018.
Ooh, fancy.
They gave me a wooden doubloon that had the, National Christmas tree thing on it. And I was like, oh, I'm so fancy. So,
I wanted the balloon. That sounds cool.
yeah, that was fun. That's all. That's like the best story I've got, y'all. Sorry, no conflict, no roasting action, no nothing. But anyway, that's how I learned that region was the dishes about winemaking.
Yep.
Well, thanks, y'all.
Big deal.
Be in touch with me if you have any questions between now and whenever we see each other again.
Mhm.
Be sure to definitely be putting all this together. It's a lot more than your first project in terms of actually making things mesh. Again, we're not talking a bunch of equations and stuff like that. We are talking to your family and friends, right? So first presentation, scholarly type presentation. Second presentation, sitting around the dinner table, but not that casual, if you don't mind. Okay. All right. Okay. Y'all have a great night.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr. Eric, can I ask you something?
Yeah, your volume's a little low, Mom. So.
Yeah. If you don't mind, if I could send the assignments that are remaining for me to send by tomorrow, is it okay? Because
The discussion, I changed the deadline for the discussion for this week to Friday anyway, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. So that was something that I accidentally put it too early. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Yesterday also I had that conference, so I was up from the morning, so I haven't been able to catch up on a lot of things.
Gotcha. No, it's all right. Take time.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Have a good night.